RX Television on RxMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, better known as hashtag Ask Dave, brought to you by Species Nutrition. Visit speciesnutrition.com. And on that note, we're going to throw it to Dave Palumbo. We have a special offer right now at the website, speciesnutrition.com. Dave, on cookies and cream ISOLYZE.
Yep, we're doing it again. Everyone always asks me, when are you going to do these sales? And the truth is, I don't know when I'm going to do them. We kind of just, Amanda and I sit around and we like, okay, you know what? I think we have a little extra inventory here. Let's offer the Ask Dave people a special sale. We know you guys love it. The thing about it is the people who watch this show first get first dibs because a lot of times we run out. So here's your the stopwatch is going right now. Go. Better run over to speciesnutrition.com. $19.99. Doesn't get any better than that. It's more than half off. Cookies and cream, 22 serve. Guys, we only have, I think we have like a couple hundred of them, but they're going to go super, super fast. And once they do, that's it. Sale's over, and you guys lost out. So I know the last sale we had on the PostWorkout, I think people were buying it by the case. They were buying 24, 48 at a time, and they got lucky because they have a nice stockhouse now of the stuff. But cookies and cream, one of our really cool flavors, ISOLYZE. It has little pieces of sugar-free cookie in there that's actually in the protein. So when you mix it up, it actually tastes the cookie pieces in there. And if you like them crunchy, you eat it right, you drink it right away. If you like them a little soggy, like I do, I let the shake sit for a little while and absorb the water, and then the pieces get like, it almost tastes like cereal, you know. So some people like crunchy cereal, some people like it when it's soggy. I like the soggy cereal. So guys, I'm telling you, check it out. It's one of the really the flavors I don't talk about much, but it's got a very big cult following and it's absolutely delicious. So if you like cookies and cream, check it out. $19.99 at speciesnutrition.com, only while supplies last.
So again, check that out at speciesnutrition.com. We go to the questions. Again, this is your 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. All your questions on diet, training, supplementation, IPV Pros, competitions, whatever's on your mind, it is on the table. We first go to the Dave Palumbo Experience app. We go from a question from Georgia. Dave, your thoughts for women using IGF1, and can I use the same protocol you've laid out in your app for men?
Before I get to the IGF1 question, I want to just remind people, because a week from this Saturday is going to be my next Secrets to Becoming a Diet Guru course, and we still have some spots open. That's the course I give where it's a 10-hour seminar. I go over everything related to diet, supplementation, PED, drug use, steroids, GH, IGF1, insulin. We go over pre-contest, we go over off-season, gaining muscle, losing body fat, everything possibly related to bodybuilding you could think of to be a great coach and to actually learn how to, manipulate your own body. It's basically 4 years of college in one afternoon, plus I buy you guys lunch halfway through. So we have a great time. Everyone becomes friends. It's in Cape Coral, Florida on Saturday, the 9th of June, and you can sign up at davepalumbo.com. So guys, you don't want to miss this opportunity. It's a great, I guess you could say, chance to educate yourself and become a great, coach out there. And let's face it, there's a lot of guys making a lot of money as a coach, and it would suck if you became a coach and you really didn't know the science of what's going on, because as soon as your clients find out that you're faking it and you really don't know what's going on, you lose all credibility. So educate yourself, learn how to do things the right way, learn the science behind what the information you're giving out, and you're going to become a much better coach for that. All right, to get back to the IGF-1 question, I don't really love women using IGF-1, and I'll tell you why. Because IGF-1 it's like a more potent version of GH, because GH stimulates IGF-1 release in the body, but when you actually take the IGF-1, you're getting all the effects of it. And in men's faces, it increases the bone structure or the bone development, not of your jaw like testosterone would, but of the cheekbones. Now in women, it might not look that good, okay? It could also make your nose a little bigger, your ears a little bigger. So I don't love giving it to women for that fact, because it changes their face a little bit. Different than androgens do, but it does thicken the bone structure of your face. So once again, I'm not a huge fan. I like a little bit of GH for women, maybe an IU to an IU and a half, maybe 2 IUs the most per day. But I just don't like IGF-1 for women. I'm telling you, I just don't think it adds any benefit. It doesn't have any fat burning properties whatsoever. So if you're going to go with something that's going to give you a little boost to your muscle growth, and you're looking for the fat burning properties, GH is the way to go if you're a woman.
Another question related to IGF-1. Are there any health concerns from Big W? Any health concerns with IGF-1 as far as promoting cancer? Also, for me on TRT, will the IGF assist me on getting leaner?
Yeah, IGF is not really a fat-burning hormone, although it does boost metabolism, so you might burn some fat indirectly from that. You know, and I have to make this statement. I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. Growth hormone and IGF-1, okay, are growth factors. All they do is make cells grow faster and proliferate at a higher rate. They don't promote cancer growth, okay? So IGF doesn't cause cancer. Steroids don't cause cancer. Okay, we don't know what causes cancer in the body, okay, or why a cell would go rogue. It's usually a compromised immune system because we're always producing cancer cells in the body, okay, but our immune systems recognize that and eat them up. If your immune system is compromised, if it's suppressed in some way for whatever reason, okay, these cancer cells can grow unabated, okay? Also, if you're very acidic, your body, that will suppress your immune system and that can make cancer more prevalent. That's why I'm always pushing alkalinized water and alkalinizing foods and the right amount of calcium and magnesium in your diet to help also raise the alkalinity, lower acidity in the body, detoxifying your body, using a fiber supplement to get the toxins and the acidity out of the body. That's more important at preventing cancer. However, having said that, if you do have cancer growing in your body and you don't know it, and you take IGF-1 or GH, it will make the cells grow faster. My friend Vinny Bolger had testicular cancer. He didn't even know it. And he had was on GH, and this testicular tumor grew so fast that he couldn't believe it. It was in like a couple weeks, it got huge. He went to the doctor, and the doctor says, you know, and they caught it. So maybe in his case, he got lucky because it made it grow so fast that he actually noticed it. And he had it removed, and he went through all the chemotherapeutic, you know, and now he's fine, you know, and he's taking GH again, I think. But no, but the point is that GH doesn't cause cancer. Neither does IGF-1. It just can make it grow faster if it's there.
Let's go to Imagine Health. Says he's been asking this for a couple of weeks now. Is saw palmetto on its own effective for hair loss without the other ingredients in ISOLYZE, such as DIM, etc.? Any side effects similar to finasteride?
Saw palmetto is. Now, there's different grades of saw palmetto and different, I guess you could say, percentages, you know, different extracts of it. We use a very high potency extract, and that's why I think ISOLYZE is so potent at preventing hair loss and especially inhibiting acne. I have a lot of young guys who take ISOLYZE just because they don't want to get acne because it reduces the DHT, which reduces the acne breakouts. And I've had women, a lot of women using it too, young women, and they're getting good results on it. I also, you know, I don't know if acne has an estrogenic component, but I suspect that estrogen can antagonize it a little bit. So, you know, that's why I like ISOLYZE because it doesn't just address one hormone. It balances the three most important hormones with regard to, you know, muscle building properties. So you just don't want to, if you eliminate DHT, you get more estrogen production. So you want to balance it. You want to get rid of some estrogen, some DHT, and then boost testosterone. When you do that all together with one formula like ISOLYZE does at 3 pills twice a day, you're addressing all the hormones. You're not just addressing one thing that's going wrong in the body. When you just look at one variable, all the other variables get thrown out of whack, and that's the problem. Once again, can saw palmetto reduce DHT? Yes. It depends on what extract, you know, strength you're using, and it also depends on your own genetics because everyone responds differently to it. But don't just address one variable. That's why I made the formula the way I did.
Tommaso Nastasi, Dave, your opinion on stretching the muscle you trained post-workout?
Yeah, probably stretching after you work out is probably the best way to do it. The only time I ever stretched before my workouts is when I would do legs, okay? What I would do is I do like some kind of a small warm-up, whether I pedal a bike for 5 minutes, just get some blood going. I go stretch and then I do legs just because I felt when I stretched my legs, I got better range of motion in my, my squats and all the other stuff I used to do. As far as stretching after, like you do back and shoulders and arms, I think what I used to do is I would stretch during the workout. So I would do a set and then I'd stretch. I'd do a set and I would stretch my upper body and I'd hold onto the wall and I'd lean against it. I'd stretch my pecs. Or if I was doing back, I'd hold on to something and I would lean back and I would stretch against that. So stretching was always something for upper body that I did during the workout. Legs I stretched before, and then sometimes I would even pedal a bike afterwards just to kind of move some lactic acid out of the legs. But that's how I did it. I felt that that was the most effective. When I was a runner, we would always run for like maybe a half a mile or something like that, warm up a little, then they'd bring us back and we would do stretches and then we would do our training. So that's always how it worked. And sometimes we would stretch after the run as well. But usually it was done after a small warm up before we actually performed the exercise.
Mosif 111, Dave, whole eggs, Rocky Balboa style, versus whey protein shake as a post-workout drink. Your thoughts?
You know, I've drank my fair share of raw eggs in my day. I think that you wouldn't want to do whole eggs post-workout because there's fats in there and that's going to delay the absorption of the protein. I personally like whey protein. I think whey protein is the ideal food. You know, back in the day I used a lot of eggs because they didn't have whey isolates, so there was lactose in there, and if you drank too much of those whey proteins, I'm thinking the original designer protein, which was just whey concentrate essentially, you got diarrhea from them. You know, it would upset your stomach. Now back in the 90s I wasn't as lactose intolerant as I am today because I was younger, but I found that sometimes the eggs worked better back then. But what I would more likely drink eggs for is I would try to replace food meals. So in other words, if I just didn't feel like making a food meal, I would put a dozen eggs in the blender, blend them up, add a cup of oatmeal to it, and just guzzle it down. I mean, it tasted disgusting, but I didn't care. I didn't care back then. But as far as post-workout, I certainly wouldn't be putting whole eggs in a blender. I would use a whey isolate shake.
Somebody had a question about Nathan Diasha. We're actually in touch with him right now. We're working on getting him on the show. Let's see. There's a question about his showing in the... All right. McDonald's, Zach, what would Nathan Diasha have changed in his time between the New York Pro and the Cali Pro to bring in a significantly different look to the stage?
I think he depleted himself out more for the Cal Pro. I think he used a little bit more water restriction, maybe some diuretics. He dried himself out more, and we're going to ask him when we get him on the interview what he did. But he certainly was significantly tighter in California. However, he had a lot more fullness in New York, which was, you know, Chris Aceto and I analyzed this on Heavy Muscle Radio on Monday night, and we actually, you know, came to the conclusion that whether he did it purposely or not, it worked for him, because going against Juan Morel, who's a bigger guy, he probably needed that extra size to push past him. Had he come in as dry and hard in New York, he might not have won because Juan might have been bigger than him. So it was a good strategy in New York. When he got to California, he knew he wasn't going against any big mass monsters there, so he came in harder, and that worked for him too because there was a lot of good shape guys there, so he just outconditioned those guys. So whatever, like I said, I don't know if he strategically did that on purpose or if it just happened by accident, but it worked to his advantage and he got the 2 wins for it.
Shredded Break Jim, Dave, what would your advice be on how to best increase calories and macros following a prep diet to take advantage of the rebound? And should supplements be stopped or continued post-show while increasing calories?
You know, after the show's over, I kind of let guys do what they want for a day or two because I want them to get out all the cheating out of their system. I usually keep them on a little bit of diuretic, you know, for a day or anywhere from 2 to 3 days, just because that rebound is usually vicious, especially if you're eating a lot of carbs, you're putting the sodium and water back into your diet, you're going to rebound off the diet from the show. There's no way around it. So if you start gaining excessive amounts of weights, over 15 pounds, I tell people take a half a Diazide, you know, per day, excuse me, for like 2 to 3 days. Once that 3-day period kind of passes and you're kind of not excessively holding water, you're kind of past the danger zone, as I like to say it, and usually you can go back to eating what you want within reason. Now, a good way to you know, a lot of people say, how do you anti-diet or you know, do the negative, you know, refeed yourself? I don't know whatever you want to call it. What I start is I usually go back to my base protein fat diet and I add carbs to it. So I might start guys off on like protein fat with 35 grams of carbs per meal for 6 meals a day, see how they do on that. If they're losing weight or they feel like they're not, you know, they're really flat, I might go up to 45 grams per meal and see how they do on that. Usually they kind of stabilize on that type of a food intake, and that's why I know that they're in good shape at that point. If they're losing excessively, I'll increase the food more. If they're getting too fat or too bloated, you're not really going to get fat the first week or two. I might cut back the food a little bit. So I base it on how their body's responding. Everyone's different. Guys with fast metabolisms can eat more. Guys with slow metabolisms, you got to feed a little less to.
King IPV or King Q IPV Pro, should you cut your good one here? Should you cut your off-season short to be lean for a guest posing and jeopardize burning out for a show, or keep to your off-season plan?
I always stick to the off-season plan, you know. But then again, I never really got fat in the off-season. So, you know, when I would guest pose, I actually probably was the leanest guest poser up there all the time. Having said that, though, if the goal is to be a professional bodybuilder and to look your best when you come contest time, you certainly don't want to be dieting, you know, for 10 weeks before a guest posing job. You know, you might want to clean up your diet for a week or two just to kind of tighten up a little bit. But let's face it, you shouldn't be walking around as like a fat slob anyway. And that's just the way it is, you know. So, but I certainly wouldn't jeopardize my muscle building efforts because I'm worried that people are going to judge me and online are going to say I look terrible because I'm in my off season. I wouldn't do that.
Half Asian bra, Dave, who is your favorite person you interviewed so far? And would you ever start interviewing people outside the bodybuilding fitness industry?
Yeah, I love the celebrity interviews that I do. It's funny that those interviews don't get as many hits. I interviewed Herschel Walker, Jason Statham. Over the years, I've interviewed a lot of like celebrities, especially at Bob Goldman's International Sports Hall of Fame. That's where I get the Earl the Pearl Monroe. You know, probably people out there are like, who are these guys? These are famous sports figures, you know, that I grew up idolizing. So those people are really, really good. Triple H is always a terrific interview. I'm going to interview Stone Cold Steve Austin eventually too, and he'll be great. I know he will because I talk to him on the phone all the time. And probably one of the best interviews I think I did, which I enjoyed the most. You know, it might not be what you guys enjoyed the most, but I enjoyed the Dorian interview a lot. You know, I thought that Dorian Yates was a really good interview. Even though we didn't agree on everything, I thought it was informative because it's something that I always wanted to do as a guy coming up. I wanted answers to certain questions that I never was able to find out the answers to because Dorian didn't talk about that kind of stuff when he was competing. So I finally got to ask him the questions. Not that it can benefit me anymore because I'm not competing anymore, but I got the answers to the questions that I had back in the 90s. So I enjoyed the Dorian interview.
Rick ATL, I hate your show. I'd rather take 2 servings of FiberLize, get stuck in traffic for hours, than watch this nonsense. Did I say I hate your show? When deciding about injectables, which vitamins, amino acids would be your recommendations to get? In other words, how to decide which ones I can still take orally and which ones injected intramuscular?
The only vitamins that seem to be more absorbable intramuscularly injected are glutathione. Glutathione is a natural antioxidant found in our bodies, produced by the liver, okay? And you cannot take glutathione orally. It's not absorbable. To get around that, a lot of people take N-acetylcysteine, which is the precursor to it, but then who knows how much your body really converts to glutathione. You know, obviously you've seen me do videos about TitanMedicalCenter.com. They sell an injectable glutathione. You know, you can take a cc of that at a time. You can take it every day if you want. I take it every other day. And it just gives your body a nice boost of antioxidants, especially to the liver, because the liver uses that as its primary antioxidant. And that's just one of these things you can't orally absorb. Most other vitamins you can absorb. Now, B12 is weird because some people can absorb it. Some people don't do a good job absorbing it. Some people can only absorb the methylated version, which is what I've been taking. But injecting vitamin B12 is really easy to get it into your system as well. So that's another, like a really good one you can inject. All the other ones are kind of like, you know, I call it, you know, basically extra credit type stuff, you know, luxury items, so to speak. You could take a pre-workout and absorb the ingredients, but you can also inject the pre-workout ingredients as well. Titan Medical has formulas for that as well. So, you know, just likewise, they have an injectable sleep product called Serenity that I really like with GABA. But you could also take SomaLyze, which is my pill version of GABA and melatonin, which works just as, I think works just as well. It doesn't work as fast, but it works just as well. So it's really up to you what you want. Some people just like the idea of injecting these vitamins and because they're going directly into the bloodstream. And then other people, like say I have a limited budget and they can't buy everything, so they say which ones are the best ones to get. I think the glutathione is probably the way to go if you're looking for an injectable vitamin that has good potency.
You're watching Ask Dave on RxMuscle.com, brought to you by Species Nutrition. Again, right now at SpeciesNutrition.com, limited time sale, cookies and cream ISOLYZE available for $19.99. That's a 22 serve only while supplies last. Let's go to Scott Rizzardi. Dave, this is one where it's been a conversation that's been bandied about, and I'm sure you're getting a lot of questions from your clients. So Scott Rizzardi wants to know, Are there any different ways you train one of your athletes for a classic physique show versus an open bodybuilding contest? Seems to be a lot of difference of opinions on this topic.
If you're starting out and you're looking to be a classic physique competitor and you don't have the, you still aren't there yet. In other words, you haven't perfected your physique. You got to build muscle. The muscle building process is the same whether you're a men's physique guy, classic physique guy, or bodybuilding guy. The only difference between classic and bodybuilding is genetically what you're given, structurally speaking. You have a small waist and you have a nice V taper and you have nice round muscle bellies. You're going to do well in classic. If you have more of a power physique with a little bit more thickness in the waist, maybe a little more mass and freaky conditioning, you're probably going to do better in open bodybuilding. But the training is the same. In other words, guys who are in classic don't train like less intense. They don't do different exercises to look like they're classic, like a classic physique. They just happen to genetically have those tool sets. They still want to build muscle. They got to squat, they got to deadlift, they're going to bench press, they're going to do all the same exercises. Same thing with women. Bikini competitors do pretty much the same thing that women bodybuilders do. All right, they want to put muscle on. At some point, when they get too much muscle, they might change their workouts around and do more calisthenic type stuff, plyometrics, and different stuff. The reason they're doing this is because they don't want to build any more muscle. So they got to do something athletically. So they do these other kooky, crazy jumping type stuff. And I understand why they do that. They do it, or the smart ones do it, because they can't really weight train, or else they risk getting too big. Okay, the people who are not too big and do that are kind of just wasting their time. They're not going to really do anything. Muscle building is universal. There's no special formula. We know what it is. We know what the workouts are. You got to just get in the gym and train.
Victor Saldana, my body loves getting fat, so when I bulk, I tend to be a little timid. Would you suggest I make small increments to my macros or start higher and do cardio as well, or a combination?
It's always a combination is the right answer. Doing some cardio, eating the right foods, putting that combination together that works for your physique. And everyone's different. Some people have faster metabolisms, some people have slower metabolisms. You got to find what works for your physique. Usually people with slower metabolisms need to eat less carbs. That's usually just a general rule of thumb. And they need to do more cardio. People who have fast metabolisms can tend to do less cardio, and they can eat more carbs in their diet. And that's the difference between the two types of physiques.
Poor Divine Wilson. He's become a topic of the I hate this show more than Divine Wilson hates losing. And in this case, I hate this show more than Divine Wilson hates silver medals question. And it's from Meathead Mortgage. Is it better to take off completely on your rest days during prep, or is light cardio a better option, currently less than 3 weeks out?
Yeah, if you're 3 weeks out and you're still trying to lose body fat, I would, on your day off, I would not miss cardio. Cardio is every day. Weight training, you don't want to train 7 days a week. You only want to train 5 days out of the 7 days every week. You need to have those rest days, okay? The recovery days are what build muscle, repair muscle. If you don't give yourself those recovery days, your body's going to go into this like shutdown mode and nothing's going to work. So pre-contest, or if you're trying to diet down, cardio every day, 5 days a week on the weights.
You're watching Ask Dave. Again, every week what we do is we like to feature a retailer carrying Species Nutrition products. This week we wanted to feature Gym 1. They're based in Austin, Texas. They're our Species Nutrition retailer of the week. John Gomez, I believe that's his name, brought it up to me last week. He showed me all these pictures from inside the gym. They have a Species banner proudly hanging there. They carry a lot of our products. So if you're in the Austin, Texas area, John Garcia is the guy to go to at Gym 1, 2545 Brockton Drive in Austin, Texas. Let's go back to the questions. Merce Brown, here's a good one. What's going on with Justin Compton? Is he going to compete anymore?
Good question. We should probably get him back on the show to ask him. The fact that we haven't seen him back on the stage and we really haven't heard very much from him. I know he's training people and doing his own thing and making some money for himself, but that usually indicates to me that something is going on and he probably just doesn't want to do it anymore. Sometimes I give these guys credit. A lot of guys, something happens to them medically or they have a little scare. The smart ones will get out. They'll say, like, you know what, I had enough. I want my health to be good for the rest of my life. I want to live a long, healthy life. I don't want to put anything in jeopardy. I'm done. And I don't know if that's what Justin did. We really need to talk to him. I don't know if he had an injury or what, but we have not seen him on a stage, and we haven't really heard a peep at him, so I'm assuming he's laying low at this point, and he has no plans of competing. That doesn't mean he can't change his mind. Once again, I'll reach out to him, and we'll see what's going on with him.
Monster Mike, Dave, you mentioned several times that your metabolism actually got faster later in your career. What do you think caused this?
A lot of muscle. I think what happens is when you put a lot of muscle in your body, you have a higher metabolic demand, meaning you need more energy, more fuel to run that muscle. And so I burn more calories at rest. Think about it. If I was 320 pounds at my biggest, let's assume 290 pounds of that was muscle. It's a lot of muscle that requires a lot of food and feeding for energy-wise, for protein repair-wise. So I had to eat big if I wanted to stay that big. And that's just the bottom line. That people don't get that through their heads. You know, the more muscle you have, the faster your metabolic rate will be. And I had a fast metabolism before I had all that muscle. So imagine how fast my metabolism got once I had that muscle. It required a lot more food to feed it. And that's what you want to do. That's why the goal always is when you're losing body fat is to maintain as much muscle as possible so you don't lower your metabolic rate.
Let's go to a question about L-carnitine. Max Box on YouTube. Dave, your take on L-carnitine injection. I'm doing a show in August. I was told these are good for fat burning. Please help.
Yeah, L-carnitine is an interesting compound because it requires insulin to get into the cells. Some people feel that injecting it will preferentially help get it into the muscle cells quicker, which obviously putting it in the bloodstream directly is going to make it get in easier. It's going to save, whatever it is, whatever the digestion time is of it, if you did an oral version of it. However, okay, what is L-carnitine? What does it do? It transports long-chain fats inside the muscle into the mitochondria of the muscle cell so that it can be oxidized, okay, for energy, burned up for energy, okay? So if you have a deficiency of L-carnitine, you could slow down your fat burning. So taking an oral version of it obviously is the first line of what I would recommend doing, like a product like my LipoLyze that has it in there, has acetyl L-carnitine. I would try that. If that works and you start getting a little warm and picking up your fat burning process, then you're good. If that doesn't work and you feel like you're just stuck at a plateau, it might not hurt you to take an injectable form of L-carnitine to see if you could actually help speed up the fat loss.
We get a lot of questions from the Jordan Peters interview. If you haven't already seen the interview, it is at RxMuscle.com and the YouTube channel. Rob MT, in your recent interview with Jordan Peters, you spoke about the importance of heavy training, much like Dorian, in order to recruit every last muscle fiber. Does using, say, 70% of your maximum for slower reps and drop setting to 50% not achieve the same result, but with less stress on the joints and the central nervous system?
Well, if you lift less weights, is that what he's asking? You're going to get much less stress on the immune system and on the entire body, for that matter. But you want that kind of stress on the muscular system because that's what's going to be the impetus. That's going to be the signal to tell your body, repair this muscle, make it bigger. And that's ultimately what we're looking for. We're looking a way for the body to force our bodies to have to rebuild our bodies bigger and stronger.
Still touching base with Nathan Diasha. We're trying to get him on. We're going to take one more question because after that, we are looking to tape Nathan Diasha. And of course, we're going to talk about his wins at the New York Pro, at the Cal Pro. And then after that, calling out Phil Heath in the parking lot after the show. Let's go to John Andres or J. Andres Torado. Dave, have you taken Clen as a fat burner? What would you recommend a novice to get super shredded for his first national novice contest? So he's doing fasting, he's doing keto, but let's start with the initial as far as Clen as a fat burner.
Well, you guys know I love clenbuterol as a fat burner. I think it's probably one of the most potent on the market and available. I like to start people on 20 micrograms twice a day and then work up by 20 micrograms every 2 to 3 weeks. So like, let's say week 1, you do 20 twice a day. Week 3 or 4, you'd add another 20, so you do 23 times a day. Week 7, you do 20 micrograms 4 times a day, and you keep working up to get up to a maximum of 6, which is 160 micrograms per day. You don't really want to go more than that, so I would kind of space it out so that the last 3 weeks right before your show, you're on the maximum dosage, and then you'll taper down after the show and come off of it.
Speaking of Clen, Steve Callow wants to know if you recommend taking salt or any other supplements while on Clen.
Clenbuterol doesn't make you cramp because of a sodium deficiency. It makes you cramp because it causes increased contractility of the muscle. So that's why you get stronger on Clen. But sometimes when the muscle contracts too hard, it locks, okay? And then you have to do something to try to unlock it. There's one supplement out there that you can get, they sell in the supermarkets. It's called tonic water. It's like it's a thing that people use in mixed drinks. It's like a bubbly type of fizzy type of consistency. It has a little bit better taste than seltzer would, that's for sure, which has no taste. And what you're doing is you take maybe about 4-ounce shot glass of it. You can buy sugar-free tonic water, so it has no carbs in it essentially, or no net carbs. You do a swig of it if you're feeling a little crampy from the Clen, and it should immediately, within 15 minutes, negate that, because quinine prevents the muscle from contracting. It prevents that overcontraction, and what it does, it relaxes the muscle. And when you relax the muscle, the cramp goes away.
Couple of quick hitters. Peanut butter during prep, how much is too much?
Depends. I have people, eating at certain meals certain amounts. I like to do 1.5 tablespoons to 2 tablespoons with protein shakes. That's my fat source with a little bit of carbs in it. So I'll do whey isolate with the all-natural peanut butter with and mix it in, blend it all in there. Everyone's different though. Like men, I give 1.5 tablespoons to 2 tablespoons at each sitting. Women, I give 1 tablespoon per sitting. And once again, it just depends on how big the person is and how fast the metabolism is.
Rob Trench, hate the show more than the lighting at the. All right. A few weeks ago, you explained about overtraining hamstrings. I remember you saying you preferred an 8-day split. Then he goes on to ask, when would you pair biceps in reference to back training?
I would try to separate them by at least a day, the back and bicep training. And back in the day when I was doing the 8-day split, I was doing arms on it. I was doing biceps on its own day, and I was doing triceps on its own day. The only thing I did with biceps was forearms. And I just felt my arms worked better that way. I did all unilateral cable movements, and I was really isolated. I used really good form but heavy weight, and I responded fantastic.
Last one, Connor D. Houston, Dave, a supplement to enhance natural HGH levels.
There's really no supplement on the market that's going to naturally release GH. Now, there's some of these peptide compounds like the GHRP6, CJC, hexarelin. There's a bunch of them that actually will cause growth hormone to be released naturally. It actually basically mimicking the effects of GHRH, which is growth hormone releasing hormone. And if you can mimic that, you would directly stimulate your pituitary to produce GH, and that's about as natural as a way as you can do to do it. But you're not going to get a tremendous amount of growth hormone released unless you're just genetically predisposed to have that happen.
One more question is from Elam at 27. It's about taking time off after shows. What is a good amount of time to rest after 22 or so weeks of hard dieting?
Probably take a week off is probably the way to go. But people get so bloated after the show that they want to go right back to doing cardio to help release some of the water, and I can understand that. So, take off as many days as you can. Try for a week or 10 days. Give yourself nothing to do. Just let your body heal up and recover, and then you can sit down and figure out a game strategy.
That's going to do it for this episode of Ask Dave. Again, right now at speciesnutrition.com. Cookies and cream ISOLYZE 22 serve available for $19.99. It is good while supplies last. A lot going on at RxMuscle.com. Right now, we're working on Nathan Diasha. We have a couple of other big hitting guests lined up for you. And as soon as they're live, you'll be the first to know at RxMuscle.com. And of course, the RxMuscle YouTube channel. For Tyler Shore and Dave Palumbo, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.